Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. So guys, I seen a very interesting article on Boxing News 24/7. Boxing News 24, sorry, not 24/7. Effectively, this article, before I get into it, guys, smash the like button. Please smash the like button on this video. Share the video, of course. You guys know the score. It helps my channel. So make sure to smash that like button and leave a comment as well. A lot of you don't leave a comment. You're smashing the like button, but you're not leaving the comment. Leave a comment as well, because that tells me what you think about the video, and that also let me know what you think about what I'm saying. You know, I want to know your opinions about it. You know, it just makes it a lot more interesting. Don't get me wrong, I'm reading every single comment of yours, so don't think I'm not reading it. Even though I might not respond, I am reading every single comment, so I know what you're saying. Hence why at times I will address some of you in the video. I'll give you an example. My friend James Deere said yesterday Joshua Usyk, and then we move on to Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez. You know, you see, I read all your comments. I know who's commenting. I know all who's commenting, you know. So what I would leave your comments in the comment section and smash the like button for me. Okay, so when it says here, will Canelo Alvarez gas against Gennady Golovkin? Will he gas out? You know, this has been something that has been basically a criticism of Canelo Alvarez's game, that he seems to gas. You know, nowhere near as much as Anthony Joshua, but he does seem to gas. Now, it says here, Canelo Alvarez was running on empty after 3 rounds in his last fight against Dmitry Bivol. And to be fair, you know what? A lot of you said this. That he was gassed after 3 rounds. He was gassed. Now, it says here, Canelo was running on empty after 3 rounds in his last fight against Dmitry Bivol in May. He was too exhausted to mount any offense. I don't agree with that. He did mount a lot of offense, to be fair. Predictably, we probably see the 31-year-old Canelo completely gassed after 3 rounds in his next fight, gasping for breath and red in the face, trying to attack with single punches. How Canelo faded against Bivol is troubling, with the fight was fought at a slow pace for the most part. Bivol was fighting in first gear and only occasionally shifting into second gear to unload combinations on Canelo. For Canelo to be as tired as he was after 3 rounds suggests that he has chronically poor stamina, worsens as he ages. Next month, Canelo will face his old nemesis Gennady Golovkin on September 17th in a fight expected to close the chapter of their rivalry. Golovkin looks old and past it, last handful of fights, so Canelo should be able to beat him without any problems. Unfortunately, given what we saw with Canelo in his last fight, we could see the 40-year-old Golovkin pull off an upset victory. If that happens, we can forget Canelo fighting Bivol in a rematch, because he'll devote that fight date to a 4th clash with Gennady Golovkin. It's no secret Canelo has had problems with cardio during his career, as we saw him gas in both Golovkin fights and his matches against Daniel Jacobs, Floyd Mayweather, Austin Trout, and Bivol. Who's writing this article? He doesn't seem like a big Canelo fan at all. So it says here, while Canelo appears to be working hard in camp on running to build his stamina, it could be losing cause. He doesn't seem to have the right cardiovascular system to fight hard the way he needs to against quality opposition. Wow, this guy, man, who's writing this? It's fair to say that if Canelo gasses against GGG next month, it will be toast. Golovkin will unload on Canelo with everything he's got, and he spots fatigue in the aging Mexican warrior. Canelo's 31. Golovkin's the one that's 40. Golovkin's the one that should gas. I believe me, he won't let up until he was on the canvas. Golovkin obviously knows what he's up against in terms of needing a knockout to win. The fight will be taking at T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, and what's the same spot the first two Canelo. So this article seems very Canelo. I do think Canelo does gas in fights, but I have my own take on why Canelo gasses in fights. I think Canelo likes to work at his pace, and I think if you make Canelo uncomfortable and you make Canelo work at an uncomfortable pace, a pace that he doesn't like, and you make him work when he wants to rest, only fighters with power, strength, physical strength can do that to Canelo. Like Billy Joe and Caleb Plant, they had no power, so they weren't able to push Canelo back. Also, Canelo had no respect for their power. So Canelo could walk forward. That's not the same with Golovkin. The reason why Canelo got tired in fights that maybe where he looked a little fatigued, maybe against Jacobs, even though I thought he boxed well against Jacobs and Golovkin, they have more power. They hit far harder. So Canelo can't just march forward. I mean, recklessly. He has to be very alert. And these guys can apply a lot of mental pressure on Canelo as well. So this is the difference. When you're fighting a non-puncher, you're not as stressed. Don't get me wrong. They're professional boxers. If they catch you with a punch, you know, even a non-puncher can hurt you. But Golovkin has serious power. We know that. He has the kind of power that, you know, can wipe you out. So Canelo has to be on his A game. And he has to be mentally switched on. That tires you. And Canelo also likes to fight in spurts. So if Golovkin makes him work when he doesn't want to work, Canelo's going to tire. Do you see what I mean? Because that's the fighter, that's the body structure Canelo's got. Even though Canelo's not like a Anthony Joshua build where he's muscular, like he's a bodybuilder. No. He's actually got a pretty good physique. But for some reason, he does, like I said, his issue with stamina is stylistically, if there's a fighter stylistically like a Golovkin, like a Bivol, he's a big, I mean, Bivol's a big guy. Even though Bivol's not a big puncher for his division, he's still a big for Canelo. He's massive, he's a lot bigger, he's very physically strong. And he's, you know, that the shots that he was hitting Canelo with, Canelo would be feeling because Canelo's a much smaller guy. So, you know, Canelo can't just, you know, like I said, he's not like he's a light puncher like a Plant or a Saunders. Bivol had a bit of snap behind his punches. And he was making Canelo work, 3 minutes of the 12 rounds. You know, he didn't give Canelo any rest. When Canelo wanted a rest, Bivol was working, and he was working in throwing fast combinations. So Canelo, again, Golovkin, again, is a style. This is why I keep saying to you, if Golovkin comes anywhere near his best, this is a very tough fight because stylistically, the fighter that Golovkin is, stylistically, he's always going to give Canelo problems. And I keep saying you, Golovkin is a pressure fighter who hits very hard. And Canelo, the reason why Canelo looked tired against Golovkin, because Golovkin has that kind of style. He puts a lot of mental pressure on you, and he's also punches very hard, which saps the energy out of you. And also mentally, when a guy's punching you hard, that's going to absorb, because you have to be alert, you have to be on your A game. You know, that mentally is very draining. You know, so of course, Golovkin has a style, which is a problem. But this article where he says, I mean, you know, Golovkin's gonna throw until Canelo's out. Like, come on, in the first two fights when Golovkin was more in his prime, he couldn't. He couldn't put a dent in Canelo in terms of, yeah, you can make an argument. He won the first fight and Canelo won the second, but they were close fights. It wasn't like Golovkin was dominating the fight. It wasn't like a Bivol Canelo fight where Bivol was the clear winner. You know, both those fights were relatively. The first fight, I thought Golovkin won. I thought he deserved to win. The second fight, I think Canelo won. But they were relatively close fights, and that's the point I'm trying to make. But Canelo was tired. He was tired. I wouldn't say he was gassed. A lot of you guys said that Canelo was gassed against Bivol. That could be the extra weight that he put on. You know, naturally he's not a big guy. You know, he's 5'8", 9. You know, that's a pretty small guy for a light heavyweight. You know, so the extra weight that he added could have been a reason why his stamina wasn't the greatest. And Bivol itself, Bivol was physically a strong guy. Canelo couldn't bully him. You know, and when Bivol was hitting Canelo, you could tell it was having an effect on Canelo. You could tell when Bivol was landing the shots, you could tell from Canelo's body language. You see, Canelo's body language gives a lot away. You know, I can tell from when Canelo's in a bit of distress, I can tell from his body looking at the way his body responds. You know, against Billy Joe, go watch that fight. What I want you guys to do is go and watch Canelo's fights against Bivol, against Golovkin, and against Saunders and Plant. Look at Canelo's body language. His body language against Saunders and Plant was like nonchalant. It's like he knew he was going to get what he was going to get done because he wasn't afraid of what was coming back. But if you go and watch his body language against Bivol and Golovkin, you could see from his face there was a different type of expression. And that gives it away that he was under intense pressure. He was under pressure in those fights. And that's what I mean by that tires you. And Canelo, like I said, likes to fight in spurts. When a guy likes to fight in spurts, and the reason why he likes to fight in spurts because he's a very explosive fighter. You know, when your fight is explosive, that takes a lot of energy. So that's why they like to back off and fight in spurts because they need to give themselves rest to get back into a position where they can attack again. Because if Canelo goes attack, he'll be gassed, he'll be finished. Because he's very explosive. Canelo puts Canelo puts everything into when he throws a punch. You know? So again, he's an explosive fighter. Explosive fighters will gas because of the way they're throwing the punch, the power they're throwing it. It takes a lot of energy. It's a bit like a 100-meter sprinter, right? A 100-meter sprinter's gassed. I mean, after the 100 meters, he's in trouble. You know, if he was to do 200 meters, it'd be even more tired. Or if he was to do, you know, a 100-meter sprinter can't do 800 meters. It'd be knackered. The same way, you know, you look at Mo Farah can do so many. Man, he can, 1600 or what? I don't know what he does, a marathon. You know, that guy's phenomenal. You know, but Usain Bolt can't do what Mo Farah does. You know, so that's what I mean. For me, Canelo fights in a certain way because he's an explosive fighter. He looks to hit you with big shots that you don't see, and he puts a lot into those big shots. So then he fights in spurts, gets his energy back, looking to attack you again. But I don't think he's that huge a problem. I don't think it's a massive problem where, you know, Canelo, you know, he's gassing, he's on the floor gasping for air, like gasping. You know, no, it's not that bad. I think Canelo's. I think this article has made a lot more out of what Canelo definitely does have a problem with stamina. There's no doubt about it. I've seen his career, but it's not like it's an Anthony Joshua problem. Do you see what I mean? It's not like a severe gassing problem, but there is issues with certain styles. With certain styles, there's definitely an issue there. If you're able to pressure him and not let him have his rest in you know, when he wants to rest, I think he definitely does tire. So that's my take on this. I also want to talk about Deontay Wilder. So Deontay Wilder is back. Deontay Wilder is going to be fighting Robert Helenius, which is great news. Deontay Wilder is somebody that gets a lot of stick by the boxing world. Deontay Wilder is somebody that I'm a big fan of. I've always been a fan of Wilder. I think he's very explosive. Yes, he is a limited fighter. People say one-trick pony, but that doesn't mean that I don't like Deontay Wilder. I love Deontay Wilder. I think he's a great fighter. I think he doesn't get the respect from the boxing fans that he deserves, probably because of some of the delusional stuff he says, but he's a great fighter. For a guy, for people to say he's a one-trick pony, for him to achieve what he's achieved, and let's not forget, people always criticize Deontay Wilder, but then they make out Tyson Fury like Tyson Fury's the greatest he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. Well, didn't Deontay Wilder play his part in those trilogies? He dropped Tyson Fury twice in the first fight. He dropped Tyson Fury twice in the third fight. The second fight, okay, he got battered, but the first and third fight, you can't tell me that you didn't think Deontay Wilder was competitive. He almost won those fights. I mean, like, he almost knocked Fury out in the last round, and he dropped him in the seventh in the first fight. In the second fight, you had Fury out in the fourth round. Fury was all sorts of trouble. I didn't even think Fury would get up. So I don't see why Deontay Wilder doesn't get the credit from the fans. Like, Deontay Wilder's a great fighter. I generally think he could beat, like, I don't think he beats Fury, but I think he could beat anybody else. Like, I don't think he beats Usyk, but I think that's a very, I think that's a more dangerous fight for Usyk than Anthony Joshua, because I think Usyk would outbox Wilder, no problem, but I think Wilder has the power. If he hits Usyk, I think Usyk could be in trouble. Irrespective, even though I think Usyk's got a good chin, good defense, I think if Wilder connects on Usyk, I think it could be lights out. And I think against AJ, I would make Wilder a favorite. I would. Some people disagree, but I think Wilder's a beast. I don't know why people hate on Wilder. Yes, Wilder's resume is poor. He hasn't fought many guys. And Robert Helenius, I expect him to knock Robert Helenius spark out. But what I will say, this guy's got immense heart. He's got immense heart. Trust me when I say this. Deontay Wilder has a heart of a lion. And you know what? There's a lot of guys that bark a lot, but when it comes down to it, they don't show up. Wilder shows up. Wilder's got immense heart. We saw that against Ortiz, and we saw that against Tyson Fury. The man has immense heart. Immense heart. This guy's got a heart of a lion. He's definitely a warrior. You know, people might not like him because of the fact that some of the delusional stuff he comes out with, but honestly, the man is a warrior. He's a proper fighter. He's a fighting man. And I think he deserves a lot more credit than what he gets. And I enjoy watching him. He's explosive. He's exciting to watch. I think Wilder deserves a lot more credit than he gets. I don't think Wilder gets the respect from the boxing public that he deserves. Wilder's a great fighter. Honestly, Wilder is a great fighter. What he's achieved in boxing with the limited skill set he hasn't got great boxing skills, but what he has got, he's got a thunderous right hand. And a lot of people criticize when they see Wilder, oh, he's got no skills, he's rubbish, he's this, that, and the other. Well, respect the fact he achieved what he did. He achieved a bronze medal at the Olympic Games, and he became a heavyweight champion, reigned for a long time. Okay, his resume wasn't great, but even the fact that he wasn't, you guys say he's a terrible boxer, but yeah, he achieved all of that. He still became heavyweight champion. He still beat guys. It doesn't matter. Those guys that you think are average, you don't think Wilder's any good. So surely for him, they'd be tough. If you think Wilder's crap, right? You saying Wilder's crap, then the guys that he's fighting, they'd be tough for him. Even journeymen, even average fighters will be tough for him. But he's born with raw power. And that's what makes him exciting. That's what makes him so compelling viewing. Because with Deontay Wilder, it's a case where there's not a lot happening. Then boom, all of a sudden, like the Ortiz was outboxing him in the second fight, even the first fight. But the second fight, Ortiz was outboxing. Nothing was happening. It was just one-way traffic. Ortiz was doing his thing, winning every round, and then bang, Wilder hits him once and why. But you know that see, even with the Tyson Fury fights, even though Tyson Fury was dominant, you knew at any given moment Wilder could hit him with something and Fury could be in all sorts of trouble. And that's exactly what happened in the first fight, and that's what exactly happened in the third fight. Because Wilder's dangerous. Wilder's a problem. He's a great fighter. You know, and people, I think the fact that Deontay Wilder's a character. I think having him in boxing is great. I think he's still got a lot to give. I think he's still very dangerous for every heavyweight out there. So I would love to see Deontay. It's great to see Deontay Wilder back. I'm looking forward to the fight against Robert Helenius. And let's then, after the Robert Helenius fights, let what Deontay Wilder needs to start doing is fighting credible names now. You know, he's fought Tyson Fury. He's put up a great showing. It's time for him to step up and start fighting the top 10 of the division. That's what we want to see. Him against Ruiz, him against Joshua, him against Usyk. We want to see him fight the best now. He's at an age now where he's only going to decline now. He's not going to get better. He's at that kind of age. So he needs to start fighting the best guys, in my opinion. If he does that, I think he could gain a lot of respect from the boxing public. Because if he ends up cleaning a lot of top 10 guys out, you know, his legacy would be viewed completely differently, even though people think his skill set isn't that great. So hopefully Wilder gets these big fights and we can see Deontay Wilder against the best guys. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.